Hi, this is Christina Dudley, Miss Dudley at Oak Hills Terrace Elementary, Northside ISD. This is an introduction to United States coins for second grade. We would go over this before we would have our unit to make sure we understand what the coins mean. Hopefully this is beneficial. If you have any questions or comments, please feel free to email me. When we do coins, they need to know them by what's on the coins. And so that's what I focus on. The colors and sizes may change depending on the test, and that may be a way to trick you. So the one thing that you need to look at is what's on each side. On the front side or the heads, you have a person. On the tail side, you have some other thing related to the person or something else. I do have two special pennies here. This is the Lincoln Memorial penny, this is the Shield penny, and this is the wheat penny. Notice it's a different color because it's made up of the different types of materials when they printed this. So when we look at this, when on tests, they also sometimes put heads and sometimes they put tails, so they need to know both things. Most kids can usually recognize the heads. So this is Lincoln. We have In God We Trust, the Liberty, the year it was printed, and then the person, which is in this case, it's Lincoln. Most kids, like I said, do not have a problem recognizing Lincoln. On the back of the penny, most pennies, is the Lincoln Memorial, United States of America. So these have United States of America as well. And then the value, 1 penny, 1 penny, 1 penny. And then the motto, which is in E pluribus unum, E pluribus unum, E pluribus unum. On the Lincoln Memorial, if you use a microscope, hand lens or magnifying glass, you will be able to see the Lincoln statue sitting. So now we've gone over what they need to look at. Now we have to talk about the value. And again, this is not so hard for most kids. The value of a penny is 1 cent. It's worth 1. So we write it 2 ways. With the cent sign, it's a 1 and it's a C with a stick through it. Now this is technically 0 tens and 1 1. That's important because we also have to know how to write it with a dollar sign. Because if we do adding coins, adding the amounts, they need to be able to line up the decimals correctly. And if the numbers are not written right, then they'll have a problem. They'll be up too high or down too low. So we always hold the place with a 0 because if you're adding coins, it may go over into a 0. And if they never have the 0 there, they don't know where to put it. So it's a dollar sign 0, then the decimal point, then it's the 0 tens and 1 cent. Now, some students like to do it like this, and that is wrong because that is a 10 cents without the 0 on it. So you need to know who's on the front, who's on the back, or what's on the back, and you need to know the cent sign and the dollar sign. Now we're going to go on to the next slide, which is the next value in coins. So now we're going to look at the nickel, which is on one side is a person's head, and then on the other side is a building. Now this is a commonly missed one, and the reason why is because of the person. This is Jefferson, and Jefferson is sideways like the George Washington on the quarter. So we have 2 different heads here, and then we have the nickel and the tails on the back. So this is Jefferson, and then this is still Jefferson. So what I look at is, notice here he has a shirt on, and even on the newer head there is a shirt. And then when we get to George Washington, his hair is roughly right here. Jefferson's is not. This is called a queue. That's what they call a man's ponytail back then. So his queue is just the ponytail. There's no roughly part right here. Here you can't see the back of his head, but it's the shirt. So again, we have In God's We Trust, Liberty, and the year it was printed. So this is In God We Trust, Liberty, and the year it was printed. So this is a newer coin because it was in 2013. On the back, we have this building, which is most commonly thought of as the White House. It's not. It says right here, it's Monticello. The reason why that's important is because it's Jefferson's home in Virginia. So it's his house. We still have the E pluribus unum. We still have the United States of America. And again, it's worth 5 cents. So the value is 5 cents with the cent sign. So we would also put a zero. I would make sure they know that there's 0 tens as well, because again, they have to have it with the dollar sign. And then you have to have the 0 to hold the place of the dollar in case we go up into dollars. And then it's a 0, 5. It's not the it's not decimal point 5, because that's 50, which is 50. So we are not doing that. So the main things that you need to know is that the head is Jefferson. Well, you don't really need to know who it is, but it's nice that you should know that, because the reason why he's on the coin is that he was an important person to our government system and founding of our country. So Jefferson is on the front. The back is Monticello, his house. You need to know it's a nickel and it's worth 5 cents. You need to know how to write it like this, and we'll write it like this with the dollar sign. One other thing I did want to point out also, you're not doing this. Notice there's a dollar sign here and a cent sign here. You don't do that. No, 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 no. You must only write a dollar sign or only write a cent sign. It's one or the other. They usually, at the very beginning, write both, and then they'll start seeing it enough times to know it's not both of them. One last thing that I want to go over is that this coin is bigger than the next value of the coin, the dime. So this is why size is not necessarily important, because the nickel is bigger than the dime, but its value is less. It's worth 5 cents and the dime is worth 10 cents. So size is not important, and they could trick you on the size as long as they know. And when we do way of skip counting, I don't care about size when we skip count, because that makes it too complicated. So now we're on the dime. The dime's going to be kind of short. We have, again, one second, let me write the word dime. Dime. We have on the front, the heads, we have, not Jefferson, Roosevelt, and he was a president, and he helped during the Great Depression. We have Liberty, we have In God We Trust, the year it was printed, and then this is also the thinnest coin and the smallest coin, so that's the only time they may mix it up is the size. But again, the size may not matter on the test, or when we draw for skip counting the coins. On the tail side, we have United States of America, we have the value dime, we have the E pluribus unum, and then we have the oak leaf, the torch, and the olive branch, which means liberty, peace, and unity. I mean, not unity, excuse me, independence and strength. So when we write the dime as 10, oops, sorry, 1 second. When we write the dime as 10 cents, we don't need to worry about tens and ones anymore because it's already there. But again, we need to only do this, not both of them. So when we do the dollar, we do the dollar sign. We hold the place for the dollar in case we go up into dollars when we add, and we do a 1 and a 0. And that's basically it. So we need to know the Roosevelt on the heads. On the back is the olive branch, the torch, and the oak leaf. It's written as this. It's a dime. It's written 10 cents like this as a cent sign and with the dollar sign. The quarter is one of the most confusing ones because there are so many different varieties. So, and this is also mixed up with several different coins on top of that. So on the quarter, we have George Washington, which they know that. But as I was talking about with the nickel, there is no shirt. It's just his neck. And then you have the ruffle on his hair, and then his Q. So we look here, and then we have the Liberty, In God we trust, and the year it was printed. So sometimes this is also mixed up with the $50 on the that's the heads. The most heads are the same. It's not the heads that usually change, it's the tails. So this is the common tails. It has United States of America, a $quarter again, and then on the back is an eagle holding these arrows which represent the colonies, and then an olive branch. Okay, so this is the common quarter. They also put out two different kinds of state quarters. These were the first state quarters, and these are on the top. It says the state and the year it became a state. And then it has the E pluribus unum, and then notice here it also has when it was printed. And then this usually is the motto for that state. And something on the picture has to do something with this state. So these states will have all the states at the top. These are the America the Beautiful ones, and these have to do with I think national parks. And notice at the top there are different things. Like this one says Gettysburg. This one says that's a Gettysburg Glacier, Olympic, Vicksburg. So these are all different types of national parks. And then on the side right here is the states that they are in. Okay, so this is why it's hard. All right. So the one thing that I help remember them by is if you don't recognize what's on the back, it's probably a state quarter, because that's the hardest one, because the other ones are not changing that frequently. I mean, there's a lot of different ones, but they're not in circulation. So these are still all in circulation. I don't see state quarter. Well, I kind of see them probably equally amount as the same. I've never noticed until I started teaching these that there are two different kinds of state quarters. So these are the newer ones, I think. Yeah, see, these say 2011. So these are the new ones. So if it does not have United States at the top and the $quarter on it, then, and you don't recognize what this is or what if that's a state, then it's a quarter. The other ones, most of them that have changed, they haven't changed recently. They've changed like a couple years ago. So these are still changing, I think. I don't know if they've put all these out. So that's one thing you need to know, and it's called a quarter. So the spelling on the quarter is Quarter. One second. Okay, so quarter. The quarter is worth 25 cents, which they say is worth a $quarter. And the reason why they have a $quarter is, and we'll go into that later also, is there are 4 quarters in a dollar. So 1, 2, 3, 4. So this is 1 quarter. And we'll also go into that when we get into fractions and when we go into time as well. So this helps them go into, if they know that 1 quarter is 1 of 4. They may not get that right away, or you may not get that right away, but as we get into time and money, time, you'll be able to figure that out. So we have 25 cents. Again, if you use the dollar symbol, you have a 0 to hold the dollar, and then 25. So you need to know, again, as a review, Washington's on the front. He has the curly hair and no shirt. On the back is the eagle holding it with both hands, the arrows, because there's going to be another eagle that's different. And it says $quarter. If you don't recognize what it says on the back, or it has a state up here or a state down here and a city name, or if they think it's a state name, it's a quarter. So now we are doing the $50. When we do a $50, I don't use it as frequently because people don't tend to carry it around as much. And also, when we first start doing counting coins, we don't want to go over too high in the coins, so we tend to use the smaller coins first. We do use them, but they're not as frequently as the other coins. So on the $50, we also don't tend to mix up the $50 too much. If it is mixed up, it's usually mixed up with a quarter, because they want to use the higher value. So on the on the $50, we have the most recent president, which is Kennedy. We have Liberty, John F. Kennedy. We have Liberty big along the top. We have In God We Trust, and then the year it was printed on the, and this is all on the heads. On the tails, you have the United States of America, the $50, and then this is called the presidential seal. So when he signs things, he stamps this on things. So that's why it's on the $50. We have the eagle, and on this eagle, he's got his legs sticking out. So he's holding the olive branch and the arrows, and then he's holding in his mouth the motto for the United States. So when we write this, it is written like 50 cents. And then if we want to use a dollar symbol, it's a 0 to hold the place, and then 50 cents. And that's pretty much it. So the next part, we're going to go real quick review over all of them and how they look next to each other. So now we're going to compare the coins. When looking at them right straight up, you have the heads here, the tails here. Notice again, all the heads. Lincoln's the only one facing to the right. On the nickel, Jefferson has the shirt and no ruffle. The quarter has a no shirt and a ruffle. The Roosevelt, his face is slightly different than Kennedy's. Now we're going to look at the amounts. We have a penny worth 1 cent and the two different ways to write it. We have a nickel worth 5 cents and the two different ways to write it. The dime worth 10 cents and the two different ways to write it. And the quarter is worth 25 cents and the two different ways to write it. And then the $50 and the two different ways to write it. Now we're going to go into, on the next slide, how to make each coin into the next coin and how many of each coin is in a dollar. The most common coin they need to know the multiple ways of making is the quarter, because they use quarters a lot when we count coins, and they need to know it rather than add 25, 25, 25. They need to have it memorized. So 2 quarters is 50 cents, or it's a $50. So if you have a $50, they need to know it's 50 cents. So 3 quarters they need to know is 75 cents. And then 4 quarters they need to know is a dollar. The next coin they need to know is the dimes. So they need to know that the 5 dimes is 50 cents, which can be written as a $50 or as 2 quarters. If you want to do it quickly, you can make a combination of other things as well. And the other one they need to know is that 10 dimes is a dollar. And I've shown here the most common dollar. I think there's a different dollar now. The next coin amount is the nickel. And then for the nickel, you have 2 nickels equal a dime, or a dime like this. The next one they need to know is that 5 nickels equals a quarter. The next one they need to know is that 10 nickels, 5 and 5, equals 50 cents, which again can be 2 quarters and a $50, or they can have a combination of dimes and nickels, but this is the most common way to make it fast. And then the last one they need to know is that 20 nickels equals a dollar. And again, this is the most common dollar that we have right now. Now that you know the basics, the next step is, how can I review this at home? With either if you're a child or if you're a parent, how can you help your child? If you're a parent, you can take some coins and have them identify the coins individually, randomly. Do not put them in order all the time. If you're a child, ask your parent for some coins and you can identify them to your parent. You could also put coins together and count the coins as well. The last thing you can do is use the computer. There are tons of websites that will practice coins, identifying coins, counting coins. There will also be apps. All you have to do is go do a search on identifying coins, or you can do a search on games for kids for coins. My website will also have review for coins as well. Thank you. Hope this was beneficial to you. Again, let me know any questions or comments if you have any.